Hello and welcome to the 32nd episode of Dystopedia. I'm your host Matt Davison, and once again I'm joined by my colleague Andrew Hodgson.
How are you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm pretty well, Andrew. How are you going?
Pretty good.
What have you been up to this week?
Working. Today I made the stupid decision to put an induction cooktop in. We've been from replacing a gas one, and I thought it'd be like a 2-minute job, and took about 6 hours, and
Oh, sounds like really good fun.
then I didn't install I had to get the gas one removed, pump around and get the gas one removed, electrician around to sort of start putting in the induction one, and then we had to cut a few holes in the granite bench top, and then we had to go and get another circuit breaker, and then found out that we actually couldn't get it in, and then I ended up putting the gas one in, and so I'm gonna have to get the plumber around to install the gas one again. So I don't know, about $600-700 later, I'm back where I started.
So it sounds like a really fun start to the weekend then.
It's such a great Saturday, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, isn't it great when adult shit comes in and ruins your bloody weekend, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, silly me. I mean, I didn't even need the cooktop. It's just I liked all the technology on it and stuff, and thought I'll replace it. I thought the grass was greener over the other side, and it's absolutely not.
Was it a bit of a vanity project? Is it?
A little bit, yeah. So the lesson there is don't branch out. Stick to what you know. Play it safe.
Exactly.
Play with a straight bat.
Well, it's one of those things once it's all up and running, then it was kind of like a story you laugh about. But in the moment though, you're like, fuck, just so angry about it, and just especially too when you think it'll only take me 15-20 minutes to do, then you're there for 2-3 hours. Like, why isn't this bloody thing working?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is frustrating.
Persevered, and didn't get it in the end. So lesson there is don't try.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, this should be a good mission statement for companies' websites. That don't try. Yeah, nothing much really. I had at my work we get actually quite lucky. Actually, we have 5 additional holiday days off per year, part of the company program. So it's really good. So I had my 4th out of the 5th of this year yesterday. So I went to Westfield, which is shopping mall.
Being a good consumer, were you?
Very good consumer, and old EB Games or GameStop for our American listeners. They're now selling retro consoles and retro games. So I'm in there and then seeing the old Xbox, original Xbox, PS1, PS2 games. I'm like, oh, right, nostalgia. You go through it and you buy, and there's games that you remember playing, and there's they're $10-12 a pop as well. I'm like, oh, grab one of those, and then next thing you know, $100 bill comes in. Like, oh, Jesus Christ, what am I doing?
Have they re-released the console? Have they?
Yeah, because EB Games always used to only sell current generation stuff, your Series X now or PS5, Nintendo Switch, whatever. Now, I think because they're losing money a lot now because everything's going online, so they think, we'll start selling retro stuff. So
let's start selling nostalgia.
You're selling nostalgia, exactly. So you're seeing the old, when I was in there the other day, they had the old Final Fantasy VII PS1 game in there, and you can open up to see the manual and see the discs and the back of the case. I'm like, oh.
Fell for it, did you?
Yeah, I didn't buy that one. I didn't jump at that one, but a couple of others I jumped at. I'm like, oh. Yeah, it lures me in every time. They've always got a sale on 2 EB Games.
Yeah, EB Games always sort of looks like it's going out of business or something.
Yeah,
it's got that Persian rug store thing.
It does. Yeah. I swear, guys, we're closing down though.
Yeah, my ass.
Yeah, but you said that 20 years ago you're closing down. It was a bit like the old ad back in the day with Paul's Warehouse. Remember that back in
Australia? You can get it all at Paul's Warehouse.
Yeah. Always having a closing down sale. The shoes had to go. You know.
Won't be here next week.
Yeah. I think that it did finally close down Paul's Warehouse. I don't see it advertised anymore.
No, I know.
Yeah. It's quite a tragedy. It's great.
It was. Yeah, some great marketing.
I love the pop in.
I can get your shoes. I can read pants. $20.
Paul has it all. Paul's Warehouse.
Where's that marketing gone? You know, where they just fucking flash it on a screen. I've got to go. Shirts. $10. I can choose $40.
Yeah. $5. Yeah. Everything must go by midnight tonight.
Yeah.
Paul has it all. Paul's Warehouse.
In over 10 years of selling sports shoes, Paul has never had a sale this big. Thousands of sports shoes and top brand clothing at prices Sydney hasn't seen in years. Reebok Hexalite and Nike Air running shoes both slashed to a crazy $59.95. Nike and Reebok cross trainers $59.95. Nike and Adidas clothing from a crazy $10.
What about a call to action? It's just straight to the point.
It'd always be on you watching, I don't know, the footy or something, and be in the middle of the ads there, and it smacks you in the face as well. You're like, oh, Jesus Christ, yeah.
Oh, yeah. We're all too soft now.
Yeah, exactly. all the ads now, the only time you see ads now is on fucking YouTube, right? When you get those 5 unskippable ads in a row.
I remember like fucking 50 seconds, yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't skip it at the right time, it jumps to another ad. You're just like, oh, you...
Actually, will YouTube mark us down for talking ill of them?
Oh, maybe they might actually. Our YouTube overlords at Google there. Yeah.
Let's get off this topic quick.
Or I'll just say to save the topic at hand here. I am a YouTube Premium subscriber, so I don't see advertisements on there. So
yeah, okay.
I bit the bullet last year, and it is a peaceful life. To quote Rogue One.
And I'm spending a lot of money on streaming platforms, but I'm thinking of it.
Yeah.
These ads keep getting longer and longer.
Oh, it's just remember when streaming came in, we thought like, oh, how great is this? All these movie shows all on one platform or over 2 platforms. Now every bloody studio's got their own streaming service now, like, and all requiring, oh, you got to spend, and they're jacking up the prices now and all this stuff. And then you end up spending more money than you would if you bought Foxtel back in the day.
Yeah.
Which is just, yeah. Or you have one streaming platform that might have 1 or 2 shows on it and the rest is all rubbish.
We didn't know how good it was.
No.
We all thought the grass was going to be greener.
Yeah, well, they thought this was going to kill the sailing the high seas, but now everyone's going back to the high seas again.
Oh, Pirate Bay's back.
It's back. It's back in fashion. It's a throwback.
Some would argue it never went away, but
yeah, well, no, I saw a video from it recently. Actually, I was saying how back in 2020 was like actually when it all basically died away. It had like maybe 1 billion like searches for it. Now it's back up to like 20-30 billion back to
Yes.
like in the glory
Yeah.
days because everyone's getting sick of paying for everything.
yeah, BitTorrent and all that.
Yeah, get malware on your computer. How good?
That's how you give your computer AIDS.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, that was LimeWire.
Yeah, oh, LimeWire, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I got that actually. Yeah, the threat. My family weren't too happy with me when I got that. Well, anyway, on last week's episode, we talked about Harrison Bergeron, and now this week we're going into the 1986 animated film, actually, When the Wind Blows. And yeah, when was the first time you ever came across this one?
A couple of years ago. I can't really remember why I got into it. Inevitably, I was probably down a Wikipedia rabbit hole or something. It would have been because of threads. So somehow searching for threads or something, I would have clicked a few buttons here and got down to this, and it would have influenced it somehow, or there would have been something in there that referenced this. It would have been on a list somewhere. So yeah, and watched it on saw that it was on Tubi.
Yes,
which is great.
Well, that's how I watched it. Yeah, this past week or so.
Yeah, it's probably the best film on Tubi.
Yeah, is that?
Oh, except Titanic too, maybe.
Yeah, I was about to say, but interrupt you there.
Couldn't happen again, could it?
No, surely not. I think I saw some of Steven Seagal's greatest hits on there too. Actually.
Sorry, I'll take that back.
Yeah. Put yourself in the bin for 10 minutes, mate. After saying that.
You remember years ago when I was saying to you, someone should do a streaming service that just shows shit movies.
Mm-hmm.
Tubi came along.
Oh, they stepped up to the plate, didn't they?
Yeah, they really did.
Yeah, the only thing I find annoying about Tubi is the ads that intermittent in it. That's like what's really frustrating to watch. Well, because I watched this movie twice in preparation for the episode, and yeah, it cuts in at like really annoying times when you're getting to the story. But then I found out that someone uploaded it for on YouTube later. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake! Like, damn it! I just see those bloody Go Daddy and Whistler ads every fucking 5 minutes.
Yeah, wasn't Walter Goggins on one of those ads?
Yeah, Walter Goggins, that's the one. Yeah. They kept on popping up every time.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah. So you've never seen this one before. That was the first time you watched it.
Yeah, no, it's the first time I watched it, and I got to say it's very well done, and it because you obviously go into knowing what's going to happen, but it takes a while for the actual bomb to drop. I know it's done on purpose for the anticipation and stuff, but then when it does like go on that night, when it does suddenly turn, you're like, oh crap, like all red alert, all stations at hand kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So like it's I like the way it does. It uses animation with like real life like sets and claymation a bit as well, and it's very well done that way, isn't it?
And there's something very comforting about it. Like it's childlike and that sort of brushstroke style, almost like you're reading a picture book. I mean, did you read the graphic novel? Have you seen that?
No, I've seen snippets of it, but I haven't seen the whole thing.
Yeah,
no.
I mean, it's like they just brought that to life.
Yeah,
but I mean, obviously, it's done for effect, right? It's done in that childlike clay animation style to make it all comforting, to make what happens next, the dread and so harrowing, right? Like
exactly. I think it's articulating that point where when a nuclear bomb goes off, like that, at 1 second you can be in that idyllic lifestyle, living your life, and then within a dime it can just go and flash.
Yeah.
and yeah, or where in this case where they're on the outskirts of where the bomb goes off, but then they're slowly seeing the consequences of the bomb going
Well,
off.
in many ways, they're the unlucky ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, before we get into the movie, we'll go into what we always do: the bit of the backstory, a bit about the author, and things like that.
We'll start with the author Raymond Briggs first. So he was actually born in 1934 in London. So to working class parents, a milkman and a maid. So initially he did like children's books and things. So he done Father Christmas in 1973, Fungus in the Boat, Bogeyman in 1977. But the one that most people in England will know him for is The Snowman. Have you ever seen that one?
It's funny. When I was looking at some of his other works as well, it's familiar. It reminds me. I remember seeing that kind of style like in Hallmark cards or something. That you'd see it for like a kid's birthday, like a 3-year-old's birthday. You see the snowman or something like that. Similar style. Yeah.
It very so the Snowman actually went on to, so he wrote that book and then they went on to do a movie of it, like they did with When the Wind Blows.
Yeah.
But it's one where the whole concept of it was always sort of, his stories always presented hope, but then there's always this sort of harsh lesson in the end where obviously the Snowman, there's an advert, I think it's an Iron Brew advert for it every year, like every year in England, in the UK, it's just on. So everyone would know it, everyone would grow up with that one. But the message being like, the kid, his snowman comes to life and the kid plays with the snowman and he's this downtrodden kid who's bullied at school, but he finds a friend with the snowman and the snowman shows him he's flying through the city with him, and he wakes up the next day and he wants to play with the snowman again, but the snowman's melted because the weather's changed.
Yeah.
You're like, oh fuck!
Yeah,
And
it's sad.
hits you in the feels. You're like, Jesus Christ!
All these hopes and dreams.
What am I supposed
gone.
to take from that?
Yeah.
But like, obviously, it's of its time, like 70s and 80s England, and all a bit grim and.
What I was reading too about him is that he grew obviously born in 1934, as you just said, and grew up. He would have grown up during the bombing of Britain and World War II stuff. And I believe that he used to love drawing during that time and period, and you can kind of see that in this film when they're looking back nostalgically about during the war. He's just inserted himself to where he was growing up. So I found that really interesting that he did that.
Yeah, and like obviously like Jim and Hilda blogs of the two of When the Wind Blows are actually, he said he modelled them on his own parents. They were like lovely, salt of the earth, working class people, if not a little naive.
Yeah.
That sort of follow blindly, believe the government. But then, this story explores a lot of that. This story explores a lot of trust in government and selective nostalgia, rose-tinted glasses, all that sort of stuff of that older generation. And very much, I feel like it's Britain's response in microcosm. Always a fucking war behind. Even the way we like the Protect and Survive brochures showing you that, if you were just a good citizen and you follow everything we say, you couldn't survive nuclear war, when that's a fucking lie.
Well, we look through the 20th century war. So World War One, they were fighting it like the Napoleon Wars, where it's all about the charges and the going with the bayonets and stuff. World War Two, they were fighting it like World War One, trench warfare, defensive positions, and then the Germans obviously used the Blitzkrieg to get around that. Then they eventually adapted to the air warfare as well, and accelerated there. And then with this nuclear war, they're preparing for the bombing of London, kind of same style. Yeah. But it's actually, you can't do that with an atomic bomb, can you?
Well, that's right. And that's the thing. You don't get that chance in the Second World War. Sorry. You don't get that chance in a nuclear war. But it's part of Britain's DNA. Britain have sort of prided themselves on like starting shit, but always finishing strong, always staying in there.
It's finishing with a wet sail.
Yeah, it's always been what they've done. No, we'll endure. We'll find a way. But yeah, it's not. It's sort of, I guess that was when there was rules and there was let's say honor, but battle lines were drawn and there was a way to victory where
there was always kind of a limit to the devastation, right? Where you can do those air raids and bombings, but you still can't absolutely wipe out everything. Where with a nuclear bomb, it's just.
Well, there's no clear victory, is there?
That's what I'm saying. Like it wipes out everything, and even if you do survive it, then you reap the repercussions from the fallouts and.
You're the unlucky one. Yeah,
exactly.
It completely changes the rules. Yeah.
Well, this is where it comes into like it actually destroys worlds, basically, right?
Yes. Yeah. But yeah, look, he had intended to. He wrote this as a critique on Protect and Survive, which so we've spoken about Protect and Survive most notably in our first episode, actually, Threads. So these were the series of brochures that came out at the time. So this was basically Britain's response to nuclear war. So as soon as nuclear war was imminent, they would sort of start handing out these Protect and Survive brochures, and they were way off. Way off it. Like I think they were prepared in I think 1976, but there was a series of adverts. Actually, let's put one in here.
When you hear the attack warning, you and your family must take cover at once. Do not stay out of doors. If you are caught in the open, lie down.
So there we are. So this was intended. It's actually quite harrowing, you know, when you hear that sound, like doo doo doo.
Yeah.
Like it was meant to come out prior to nuclear war being imminent. So you see this in threads. They really show this well. And these were leaked. I think these were leaked to the BBC at the time, and it was just like, it was also, we spoke about duck and cover and all that sort of stuff. It was just blatantly sort of lying to the populace and just giving them false hope. You know, it was shit like, you know, just advice like, you know, whitewashing your windows, or, you know, because that'll absorb the heat. But
well, we see in this film too, take your doors off and then make a 6-degree angle to bunker down, but then by taking off the doors, then the fire can spread because there's no doors to block the fire. It's futile.
And it was like, yeah, everyone, you know, there was a lot of people that actually critiqued this. There's a lot of books. There were a lot of books written. A lot of comedians actually had a go at it. This movie is somewhat of a dark comedy.
Oh, it is, absolutely.
In some of the things they do, but, you know, talking about the inner refuge, you know, where they're putting the doors up against the wall, and everything in this film is like, it's so real. It's absolute fact. That's what people were told. But like, yeah, the whitewashing windows, like, what the fuck's that going to do against billions of degrees centigrade? Like, it's you know, it's absurd, really.
Yeah.
But you know, like, you know, hiding under the tables and stockpiling 2 weeks worth of food, and all right, like, oh, you know, if you go into your cellar, but what do the working class do when they live in flats all up on one another? They don't have many rooms. Most people are living day to day. Who has 2 weeks worth of food? And then when these books came out, these Protect and Survive books came out, then panic buying ensued. So like, you couldn't get 2 weeks worth of food, you know, and they show that in the movie as well.
Exactly.
You know, like it's yeah. So it really didn't. It's a series of rules that kind of people felt like they had control, but
yeah. Well, then we learned later, was it with Margaret Thatcher as well? She's kind of saying like, was there really any point to put money into programs to doing this stuff when, if the bomb does drop, it's not going to, like, no one will really survive it anyway, because you know, the island of England or the UK is so small, like that devastation.
Well, I think per capita there's more nuclear targets in Britain than anywhere in the world, because it's so small. You can't endure it. So in many ways, yeah.
What was the point? Yeah.
What was the point? Why spend money on something that's not going to make a difference anyway and lower the standard of living now? It's like, I'm with it. Like, I guess they were kind of damned if they did, damned if they didn't. If they did nothing, they'd be vilified for that.
You really are rolling the dice with it, aren't you?
Yeah, but if you do something, it's not enough. So it's one of those. So those films were leaked, but what was available to the populace was the actual Protect and Survive book, which I think was published in 1980, and it was sold. You could buy it for 50p. But if nuclear war was imminent, it would be distributed for free, basically. It's like, although, like, you'd be people running around with a book before the war was going to happen. You're like, fucking hell.
Well, if that's to drop, and you got 3-minute warning, what's the book going to do?
Yeah. Supposedly, like, it was like 3 days before, or when it felt like that's where
tension was. When DEFCON 1 kind of thing.
That's what it was like. So it's just again, a war behind. You know, like,
at the same time, like, what can you do? Like, it's just, no matter how many pamphlets and instructions you give people, as you said, people haven't got bunkers, they haven't got shelters in the UK. It's all on top of each other. I think I said in the Threads episode that when I went into London last year and walking around, I remember thinking, like, if a bomb drops, where do you go? Where would you, like, there's nowhere to go. Like, it's just, and they're so condensed on each other as well, and the terrorists is there.
Yeah. But that's the cruelty of this Protect and Survive. It showed people, you know, smiling in it. And like, if you listen to authority, you know, you'll be okay. You know, like, it's. But this is that thing of, like, and this is where obviously Jim and Hilda in the book, you know, their sort of formative years were during the Second World War, where it was very much like that. It was very much, we'll get into it a bit later, but very much a clean war. It was very much, all right. Actually, they went through the hard times with the British home front, but, you know, we're talking about, obviously, I think it was about 60,000 died in the Blitz, in the Blitz and everything like, which is obviously horrific. But it's nothing compared to
the Russians went through.
The Russians, what happened on the Eastern Front. Nothing, absolutely nothing.
Even the Germans as well, like in their home cities. Yeah.
So it's, and a lot of it's framed, you know, the stoicism and stuff, and that's where they're looking back with this propaganda and nostalgia. I mean, history is written by the victor, right? It's seen very much in Churchill's image.
Yeah, and as you said too, that, you know, they blindly follow the government, and we see this throughout the film. But then following the government back in those days worked, and it has, and it continued to work up to that point. So why would you change that kind of mentality? You know?
Yeah. And I think this is what Raymond Briggs was actually trying to get across in his book.
Yeah.
You know, I guess the danger of, I guess, that blind faith in government, which is fatal. But like, you know, it's funny, like all the way through, Jim's like, oh no, there's a rational explanation for that. You know, like no, varicose veins. Oh, that happens as you get older. No, don't worry about it, love. That's you know, it couldn't be radiation. They would have told us about that. You know, like it's all. It's heartbreaking, you know. He's just, and he's all stiff upper lip British, like, oh, it's just a flesh wound sort of thing, you know.
Yeah, I'm a little bit hurt now, but I'll continue on.
Yeah,
I won't let the country down. Yeah,
it's there's some real poignant moments in this film. One particular one, which we'll get to in a bit. There's heartbreaking moments, but
there's one line when that says, and then you just like, oh, like yeah, like, you just, if they just did the logical thing, not following the pamphlet to a T, they would have. Could have gone a different direction. Yeah, just things like that. Yeah, just like it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, so I mean, the way he's done it, it's the tone of it's warm, but it's satirical, but it's a black comedy mixed with tragedy. It's a very interesting take on, quite a unique take on it.
What I find interesting too is that this was the first time he kind of went into adult kind of themes and terrifying. So. I can imagine that, like, people might think, seen The Snowman and taken their kids to see this movie and then like, oh my god, they've got generational trauma or something, Now they take their kids to seeing a psychiatrist for the rest of their life, because there's some parts of it. It's just it's catches you off guard.
Well, you know what? There's actually parallels between Barry Hines, who wrote Threads. He actually wrote the movie. I can't remember what the book was called, but the movie became Kes. And the Kes was about a kid, again, down working class story of a kid, downtrodden kid at school, bullied. Brother was horrible to him, and you real feel for him. But then he befriends a bird and a baby kestrel, and he brings it up and he bonds with it. And he said, maybe life is good, maybe life is happy. Spoiler alert, but obviously at the end, his brother just kills the bird. It's grim. It's grim. So there's a fleeting moment of hope, and then back to reality.
Crushed,
which is similar to like the Snowman film. He then goes on to write Threads. Yeah. So there is parallels between the It's that real sort of weird working class Britain, grim sort of Thatcher era. It's
and what I find interesting with this one too, Threads, and also The Day After, it's all in this early '80s time when when Reagan came in and escalations with Russia.
Oh, in his first term,
talking aggressively, and you can see why all these these authors and filmmakers were having a response like this, warning the world about like, no, messing with nuclear weapons is no one's a winner. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Bloody Reagan was fucking aggressive, wasn't he? We call them the evil empire, and obviously we've touched on that in other episodes. But yeah, he really like upped the brinksmanship, didn't he?
Yeah.
But so his second term, he toned it down a lot, didn't he?
Oh yeah, and then obviously with Gorbachev coming in,
but I think we credit The Day After, which we will have to do down the line.
We will definitely.
He did watch that, didn't he? It had an effect.
Well, that was the one that he wrote deeply depressed him.
Yeah,
when we watched it because
I wonder what he thought of Threads. Probably haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think he saw both actually, from what I've read. I believe, but then because he was the first president that. Instead of reading, he preferred watching stuff because he's a TV actor. And then that's the whole point. Like, and we'll talk about it probably in a future episode. Like comparing the war film, the nuclear war film, nuclear apocalypse films, where we all, you and me both agree that Threads is the one that really like hits you in the gut, smacks you in the gut.
Oh yeah, you can't.
You feel sick after watching it. But then The Day After does that as well, but not to the extent Thread does. But then it had the meaningful impact because it got through to Reagan, and then that made him change his tune. So that's what it is. The message got across, which was really good. And that's what we are thankful for.
And The Day After is not a bad movie at all.
It's just a bit Hollywood-esque.
Yeah, it's just, but you can't really compare it to Threads, can you?
Oh, not
in fact, you can't really compare anything to Threads.
Yeah, Threads,
and that includes this movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also, just before we go to that, but I think The Day After was the most watched TV movie in American history or something. It had over 100 million people watch it, so it definitely had that hallmark, and that it did its job basically. What it wanted to get out. So we got to give it credit there. But yeah, back to this one. But just in general, like the nuclear anxiety in the early '80s was at a fever pitch. Everyone was talking about it. Everyone was worried about it, and this was when you think of the nuclear bomb going off in Hiroshima, Nagasaki. and the technology had ramped it up with the ICBMs and ballistic range missiles, everything like that. It was on another level now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So no, it was definitely a terrifying time to be alive, I imagine.
Yeah. Yes, and no, but because when I talked to my dad about this time and stuff,
I guess information was a bit more controlled back then too. Yeah.
I don't know. See, some people were. There was a lot of protests at the time. The C&D movements, like C&D protests, and obviously we talked about the campaign for nuclear disarmament. They sort of started in the 60s and everything like that. They just want a total nuclear abolishment, which is just fucking no chance. I mean, that's wishful thinking, but I guess you got to push for that to, or at least take missiles off hair trigger alert, right? And that's kind of a lot of what they were pushing for. But a lot of the working class and people who just sort of didn't read the paper or didn't watch the news and stuff were the ones, and that's kind of shown in, like, I guess Jim is quite well read, with the paper. He's getting his news secondhand, but his wife is very much ignorant. Ignorance is bliss. Oh, we don't read the papers. We don't read that. Like, there was a lot of people at the time who just,
I guess too, especially in the UK during the 80s, it was a hardship time, right? For especially you were saying the north of England, right? So,
yeah.
So the people
industry was
closing, so people probably would be more worried about that than nuclear war going off, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But one of the critiques I think of, I read about, I can't remember if it was actually the movie or the book. I think it is the book. They said that the characters are too simplistic, and I completely disagree with that. I completely think that's a fair representation of, like, they're in East Sussex, they're in the country, they're away from the city.
You'd argue that's the whole point. Yeah.
It's very much the point. So I think whoever wrote that obviously misinterpreted it, because it's very and I think even Raymond Briggs came out and said, no, this is absolutely
the whole point
of a certain generation of people who blindly follow the government and think, no, that wouldn't happen.
So we'll get on to, like, just the making of the film in general. And so as you mentioned earlier, the film was based on his graphic novel that came out in 1982 of the same name. I guess, as you established earlier too, he was famous for his previous work was The Snowman, and it was, this, even though it was kind of a kid's thing, but it has a bit of a dark twist to it, but still kind of, it was gentle and magical and all things you think of. But then this has gone to a very dark and satirical and tragic kind of story. And then, they ended up getting, adapting the graphic novel into the film we know in 1986. And it was directed by a guy called Jimmy Murakami, I think it is. Murakami. Yeah. And he both worked in animation both in Japan and the UK. So he had, I was reading a bit about him, he had a bit of an interesting life, that guy. So, like, he was born there, but then he was raised in the UK itself.
Yeah, Japanese American, yeah. So
American, sorry.
Yeah. And it's internment camp in World War II. But then he moved over to the UK after that. Yeah, but he obviously worked across US, Japan, Europe, and actually eventually settled in Ireland.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And he was the one who actually did The Snowman. He brought that, so he'd worked with Raymond Briggs before that as well.
So he obviously had faith in him as a director as well. So,
and actually very faithful to Briggs' sort of soft visuals. And you can see that you've seen the graphic novel. If you've seen this, and inevitably, if I showed you The Snowman, you would know what I'm talking about. You'd see it. So he's like, he's very faithful to that. It's as if he's just brought them to life. Like,
it's like bringing the comic to life. Whatever it is. It is. Yeah. No, and the characters are very warm and fuzzy feeling, aren't they? When you see them, you look at them, like you feel like you can give the both of them a hug or something, right? Like they kind of they bring that out of you, and the animation combined both hand drawn characters and with stop motion model sets. So like. I remember when I first watched it, I'm like, am I tripping? Or is this actually like looking like real life stuff? And I'm like, no, that's what it is. Yeah, it's cleverly done. Especially the scene where you see the water bottles or the tins, the jars and stuff. Yeah, no, it definitely can tell it's like real.
There's charm to it, isn't there?
There is, yeah. It kind of a bit like a Wallace and Gromit or something.
It is. Yeah, it is. Or some sort of cartoon you'd be watching as a kid, or yeah. Wallace and Gromit, I get,
yeah. Or it has a bit of Courage the Cowardly Dog-esque to it.
Yes,
something about it.
Now that you've said it,
yeah, something very similar. I'm assuming that could have been inspired by his works, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. Yeah, Jim and Hilda were performed by actors John Mills and Peggy Ashcroft, and they were both respected British performers at the time. And they they got praise for their naturalistic delivery given during the film. So you kind of felt like they're an old, middle to elderly age couple. They have their little bickering moments, but then also it's like there's love behind it, and
they've lived with each other for so long that they know each other inside out, and
Yeah, they've been married since the age of like 18, 19, as they did back in those days. And then there is a couple of scenes you see them they cut through that shows them going through their life, like they're on the beach or something, and they're getting married and
Yeah.
And it was then like the dogs chasing them as well. I think interesting though. I found that interesting that they never showed any footage of them with their son though during that sequence. Yeah, I think that's kind of trying to emphasize that is this you're focusing on these two characters, but. But yeah, but the two actors did a really good job, and you really believe them as those characters, don't you?
You do.
Yeah. So interesting enough too, on the music side, there's a lot of famous artists that are in this film. So obviously David Bowie sings "When the Wind Blows" to start it off, and it's got a very eerie feeling, ominous feeling to it, right?
Yeah, he got a lot of critics hated that song. But I mean, I got to say, that's the one that's just played in my head. When the wind blows. Yeah, it is. The way it starts, it's like industrial sounding. And I mean, look, it's probably not his best. If you're talking like David Bowie, Nuclear War, or like apocalyptic songs, it would have to be 5 years from.
What about the one with Mick Jagger? I thought that was his best one.
Oh, are you thinking that one's apocalyptic?
Yeah. Was it Around the World, wasn't it?
No, it was Dancing in the Street.
Dancing in the Street, sorry, yeah.
I'm not dropping that one in.
No. We'll get copyright strikes. No, thanks. Yeah.
But no, I personally, I think his best sort of post-apocalyptic song is 5 Years off Ziggy Stardust album. Oh, absolutely sensational. But mate, this one, I actually really like it.
Yeah, it's funny. When I first heard the title "When the Wind Blows," I thought it was maybe referencing "Rockabye Baby." When the wind blows. So I was thinking, okay, that's where it must be going, some old nursery rhyme tale or something. But it's like, oh no, actually they wrote this song specifically for this.
Well, he was actually brought in to do the soundtrack, but then because he had other commitments, I think he was doing a few other things. I was looking at what he was doing. So I think he was actually doing Labyrinth. I don't know if you've seen that one.
No, I haven't seen it. No,
you'd know
came
that
out in the mid-'80s, didn't it?
Yeah. I think he was doing that in 1986. But yeah, he had other commitments, so he could have. I don't know. There was no albums or anything that came out in 1986. The only song he wrote was this one. Yeah.
How was he an actor? Sorry, off topic. But how was he as an actor, David Bowie? Is he okay? I've never seen.
He's all right. Bit of charm. Yeah.
Charm. Yeah. The only thing I've seen him in a movie was when he makes that appearance in Zoolander.
Yeah. Haven't you seen him in Extras?
No. Maybe I think you showed me a clip of it. Yeah.
The little fat man with a pug-nosed face. We'll drop that in.
Yeah.
He's so depressed at being useless. The fat man takes his own life. No. He's so depressed at being hated. Fatty takes his own life. Fatso.
Fatso, I like Fatso.
Yeah, let's go with Fatso.
That's brilliant.
I think he was in Twin Peaks or something like that.
Oh, was he?
I think so. Yeah, movie spin-off or something like that. Yeah, anyway, but off topic, sorry. But yeah.
Just actually on that, his appearance in Extras, I'll tell you, that was that moment when I saw him in that, when I'm like, I just saw how talented he is. But they was just playing the piano, and obviously, he's just written a little song for the thing, for the actual show, but I was like, fuck, he's a genius. Like, I mean, look, to me, he was the best artist that ever lived. Like that, he's right up there. I honestly don't think you can touch him in sense of just a man to do it in every single genre just for a laugh. Anyway. I just wanted to get that out there.
Yeah, you want to give him a glaze, did you?
I did.
Yeah.
He was So he was originally meant to do the soundtrack, but only did the
title song.
The title song,
and he wrote it too, right?
Yeah, he wrote it. Funnily enough, actually, I think Raymond Briggs, when he met him, he shook his hand and said, David Bowie had said to Raymond Briggs, "I'm a big fan of your work." Supposedly, Raymond Briggs shook his hand back and said, "I wish I could say the same for you."
Oh, brutal.
So obviously, his Raymond Briggs' musical taste is a bit shit, but anyway.
Oh, but Raymond Briggs was growing up in like that old style kind of music, right? Yeah. That rock and roll stuff. Oh, yeah. I can imagine that. Yeah, well, David Bowie wasn't the only person or artist that was in this soundtrack. So you also had Roger Waters from Pink Floyd, Genesis, which obviously has Phil Collins in it.
Oh,
yeah. The one that won him the Oscar. Yeah.
And now, I'd like to sing the complex and amazing song that won me the Oscar! A song entitled, "You'll Be In Me." Thanks! You'll be inside of me. Deep inside of me.
They also had Squeeze, Hugh Cornwell, and Paul Hardcastle. So, yeah, pretty diverse range of artists. And I think, as we mentioned too earlier, about how this was very much anti-nuclear feeling, especially amongst artists and stuff like that. You can see why they put their name forward to help make a film like this, right? To make that message across. Especially in Roger Waters' case, because I know he's very outspoken about his political beliefs and stuff.
Yeah, quite left wing.
Very,
If some of the interviews with him or anything to go by.
Yeah, sounds like he's very similar to something like Rage Against the Machine or something, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, a bit like Tom Morello. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not so socialist that they wouldn't be selling T-shirts or signing up with the big record companies. But yeah.
Yeah, they rage for the machine now.
I don't think we've become for Rage Against the Machine so much on this podcast.
Yeah, I know.
I actually really like them, but
I love them too.
Yeah,
but
it's hard not to point out the hypocrisy. We have to do that.
You gotta have a laugh sometimes.
Yeah,
as well. You gotta see the irony in things.
We do. So just back to Jimmy Murakami, the director. So he genuinely believed that animation was not just for children. So and obviously, no, what better way of showing it than this, But he thinks like the innocence of the medium actually intensifies the horror, which I couldn't agree with him more with that.
Oh, I definitely agree. Yeah, because it catches you off guard because you're assuming by your natural biases that something, cartoons is for kids and wholesome, or or there's a bit of silliness to it or something like your Looney Tunes. But then this like throws a whole spanner in the works and makes it dark and grim and depressing. I mean, we saw that later on when we done a previous episode, like Akira, for example, not on the same level as this one with the intensity, but when you're seeing like when Tokyo gets obliterated by that bomb, just like in a cartoon as well, how graphic and violent it is. Yeah, it catches you off guard because you're so used to seeing animation in a different way and style. So no, I completely agree with that statement. Yeah, it has that realism and that raw. It catches that raw emotion of like the devastation of it and the tragedy of it.
Yeah. I appreciate him for actually doing that. Very, very clever. Just to think outside the box and push boundaries like that. Yeah. So I mean, obviously at the time, this wouldn't have been received as well as some other films and that, but I think it's aged extremely well. So some critical reception. So there's a few from today. We've got so I've got a contemporary review here. So obviously, inevitably, it's comparing it to Threads. So it says Threads remains the screen's most potent account. When the wind blows is unquestionably the most humane.
Yeah, that probably sums up perfectly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because even though in Threads you're following the couple and the families, but once the bomb drops, it's like that comes irrelevant after that, and you're seeing one or two survivors and stuff. Where this is like you're following them from beginning to end. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. This Time Out magazine said their slow degradation is almost unbearingly moving. Animation at its best. Blueprint review, Bleak, reminds us how simple, harmless people suffer from rash decisions of the powerful. Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, I've seen some other reviews saying like it was praised for its artistry and emotional power, but was considered bleak and unsettling, not a family film despite its animated form, which we just touched on, which makes sense exactly.
Yeah,
it's not
I
designed
love that.
for it. Yeah,
I love the thought of that, like someone being caught off guard with it, And the title, you wouldn't really give anything away, would it?
Yeah, or if you just saw the cover art and then the title as well, and then even the first 30 minutes of the film, you think, okay, yeah, it's just preparing for this thing, and then it just turns on a dime, you're like, oh shit. Yeah. What's notably too, because this was released in 1986, and this was during obviously the height of the Cold War tensions, and shortly after the US deployment of the cruise missiles in the UK, and just a few years after the real life scare of the 1983 NATO exercise Able Archer.
Yes.
So this is where we're seeing these.
Well, for anyone who doesn't know that's when the war game that they did at the time was so realistic that the relationship with Soviets and the US or NATO was at its all-time, like at an all-time low as well, with obviously some of Reagan's brinkmanship that we're talking about, that they thought, I think they knew it was a war game, but then the paranoia was such that they think, well, no, but they would do it now in a war game, wouldn't they? Because they wouldn't think that we knew that, they wouldn't know that we knew that they knew. So if you were doing it at that time, wouldn't you make it look like a
diversionary kind of thing?
Yeah. And the relationship was there. So they I think they were like very nearly at like DEFCON, whatever their equivalent of DEFCON 1 was, and we're all without like anyone knowing.
Yeah,
it's
just insane, isn't it?
Yeah.
And at this time too, we touched on earlier, but the rapid and growing technology, but then as we know, technology can make mistakes sometimes.
Oh yeah,
we got that famous submarine example,
Vasily Arkhipov.
When it was the sun rays beaming off the ocean or something.
Yeah.
Made it look like it was a strike was incoming. And
That I think that's Stanislav.
so Stanislav
Stanislav Petrov. Actually, today's the anniversary of that.
Yeah,
Funnily enough.
there we go.
Yeah. Or was it yesterday? Yeah. So that was one with the sun rays, and I think it perceived the Soviet missile defense perceived 5 missiles coming in.
Yeah.
Soviet protocol was to fire back.
Yeah.
But he sort of looked at it like, well, they wouldn't just fire 5 missiles, would they? Who would do that? You'd fire everything.
Logically, yeah.
And he didn't know that, but he was reprimanded for making that call because he didn't follow orders.
Yeah.
But and obviously he had to be reprimanded because
yeah,
by them giving him a medal or something, it would have showed that their systems were shit and they couldn't show that, you know?
Yeah, well, he didn't follow chain of command either.
Yeah.
And that only came out after the fall of the Soviet Union. It just shows you, like, even at this time where there's heightened tensions and we know these little things happened here and there, even stuff behind the scenes were happening where it could have just turned on a dime.
Well, you know what's funny? There is this argument, obviously before we get into the story, but there is this argument that talks about nuclear deterrence. Now, we have to sit. Now, we've sat here and talked about the madness of it. Well, obviously in the name, the mutually assured destruction of it. It's absurd. How the fuck are we here? You know, how have we got even today? What 1,400 nuclear missiles on hair trigger alert pointing at each other right now? Like conceivably, as you say, the president could be woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning saying they're firing on warning, you 5 minutes, you need to make a call. Like, nobody should be put in that position. And how we're here as a species and how we're still here as a species is fucking beyond me with some of the things we've heard. But there is this argument that, like, deterrence has worked because we're here. And, all right, you know, we haven't, you'd have to think throughout human history, right? I mean, I think right now, all right, things are pretty bad. We've got things going on in the Ukraine. We've got what's going on in Gaza. We've got a few other wars around the world. But relatively speaking, it's probably the most peaceful time. I guess the last sort of 60, 70 years has been...
You could argue that nuclear weapons has stopped World War III happening.
Yeah, well, it is
a great equalizer.
Yeah, it is inevitable. And I think you've only got all of human history to look back at. That there would have been another war between the major powers. It would have been without nuclear weapons.
Oh, US and Soviets would have probably gone.
It would have happened.
Well, that's why they fought those proxy wars, because they knew that if they actually went head to head, that nuclear weapons was a factor in it. Yeah.
So it has worked, and we owe it to that. But then we're on this knife's edge of, like, it's the great paradox of it. Like, if it goes wrong, you can't go back, kind of thing. It's like this is the cost of freedom, essentially, or this is the cost of peace. It's fucking.
Yeah, it's obviously mutually assured discussion. So it's been this good bargaining chip, or just like a back off kind of thing, where even a country like North Korea's got now nuclear weapons, so it can say, yeah, okay, America, you want to come at me? I got this. Fuck off, kind of thing. It is like that, and it comes like well, that's why they put so much emphasis in deterrence to try and stop, you know, like Iran or other rogue nations from getting nuclear weapons, because they know then it makes them they've got a bargaining chip at the table, and they don't want anyone to get any more. Yeah, because it's scary enough that 12 nations have got it now, or 7 or 8, I think, isn't it?
I think it's 7, or it might be 9. Hold on.
Well, it's Pakistan, India, the UK, France,
Israel.
Does Israel have it?
Israel has it. Yeah.
Israel. So yeah, I believe that 9 countries have access to nuclear weapons at the time of recording. So what's that? North Korea, the US, Russia, UK, France, Pakistan, India, didn't I?
Pakistan and India, Israel. Did you say North Korea?
I said North Korea, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they're the main ones that have it. And we know recently Iran, they reckon Iran's trying to get them as well. Back in... Apparently Saddam Hussein wanted to get him as well back in the day. We got told that.
Well.
Had to be done.
Let's not get into that one.
Yeah, no. That's a whole can of worms, that one, isn't it?
So obviously, you know, there is that caveat going into this. You know, obviously we should China. We should not be here, but here we are. But you know,
that's what I would argue. It is a good thing, because then not a good thing that they are, but that they're necessary evil. Probably a better way to say it. Where
I think it just sums us up as a species.
It does perfectly, but then it stops. As I said, like say, you know, a small nation like North Korea being someone like the South and the US invading it and then it can defend itself. Even though obviously that regime's horrendous and horrible, you kind of want it to fall, but you can see why it kind of it stops like a nation bullying another nation in a way, right? So yeah, and that's why you can see that necessary evil. Yeah,
and as I say, we as a case study, we've only got all of human history. Yeah, like inevitably, someone's gonna. We just fight. That's what we do. So
it's always about a power grab as well.
Yeah, and to quote Cormac McCarthy, to think it's going to be any different is actually quite naive.
Yeah,
in fact, it's dangerous.
It is. Yeah, exactly. No, we don't change the species, do we?
We don't. We don't. All right. Well, let's get into it. Before we do get into it, what are we drinking?
We're on the old Brewdog Light lager, I believe.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it is. There seems to be this knack of like low carb lagers popping up. I just wanted it because it's a light, clean, crisp lager, but it's low carb. I'm not necessarily watching my figure.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
But there we go. If it said low carb, I probably wouldn't have bought it. But because low carb usually means shit taste. But this one, it is quite it is quite clean and crisp.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's not my favourite, but it's still a nice lager to have.
Yeah, a bit of a tang at the end of it, isn't it?
Yeah, a bit of an after tang to it. But because it's funny, when I was overseas in America and stuff, when I lived in Canada as well, you'd always see like those light beers are huge over there, and I always thought like light meant like low alcohol content.
Soft.
You're soft, exactly. I'm like, no, I want the full strength, mate. Where's? Oh, I don't want Bud Light. I want Budweiser. Or where Miller's Light? No, Miller's full strength, mate. And it's like, no, it's the low carb. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, before we dive in, let's do a summary. So, When the Wind Blows follows Jim and Hilda Bloggs, an elderly British couple who prepare for nuclear war by faithfully following government pamphlets. Drawing on their World War II Blitz spirit, they believe perseverance and routine will see them through. After the bomb falls, they survive the blast but slowly die from radiation, never losing their naive trust that the authorities will save them. It's a tragic satire on misplaced faith in government and the futility of civil defense in the nuclear age.
Sums it up perfectly, isn't it? Yeah, that ending there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. You don't see them die, but obviously you know what's coming. You're just watching them just die of radiation poisoning.
Yeah, especially with Hilda at the end when she's just like, maybe we should get the bags. The paper bag, and just that impending. Like, I'm not going to make it anymore.
You're clutching at straws now, sort of thing. And but also for me, when they sort of sit there, and I think it's that last bit of faith lost when I feel like when they pray at the end, it ends with a prayer. Like that's it. It's like the authorities aren't coming. You're fucking clutching at straws now. If you're praying to God now, we often see people look to religion when everything else fails. And it's just the way it like sort of pans out and to a prayer, and that is like, oh God, like it's sad. No one's going to help you.
No, and then they know that now that their body's like slow, like is basically deteriorated. At that point, and the way it does it, it like drips it in bits and pieces. Like it starts off with like a headache or. Oh, I'm feeling a bit under the weather now.
Yeah.
I've had bad diarrhea this morning, and then and then she starts throwing. Yeah, it's so depressing.
But that's the thing, with
radiation sickness. Yeah.
But like with Jim, every time she says something, he's oh no, that's to be expected, love.
He's got an excuse for it or a reason behind it.
Oh,
you're going through shock, remember? Yeah.
And he's stiff upper lip, love. We'll get through. The authorities would have told us. Everything. We'll go to the doctors as soon as it's over. You're like,
I'll run down to the chemist, wasn't it, and get this, wasn't it? Yeah. It's so he's that ignorant, but then also like hopelessly optimistic, isn't he?
Yeah. He is. And it does that so well all throughout the film. I think that's if we start in like the first bit of it. So
that's real footage, isn't it?
Well, yeah, that is stock footage. That's stock news footage of protests and everything when the I think C&D protests are coming through, and obviously we hear the David Bowie's music. When the Wind Blows.
Well, you're seeing like it's the middle of the night or something, and you can see people in their terraces and their homes watching them maneuver. Was it like ballistic missiles through the streets? Right? Yeah. That used to happen back in the day when they mobilize and move stuff or do war games things, right?
Well, that's when that's this. You used to have these counties that would say nuclear free counties, so they wouldn't allow trucks to go through there. So you'll see it here like nuclear free zones and stuff.
Yeah,
like that. Which look. I always found that sort of thing a little bit naive as well. It's like, oh no, we're a nuclear free zone. Like, what, you think that's going to help you when, like,
Also, the bomb goes off 20 miles down the road. It's not going to affect you.
so where do you think the radiation is going to go? Oh, that nuclear free zone.
Saying,
I'll
yeah,
go around
yeah,
that.
divert
You know what I mean? It's just
Yeah,
a bit.
when the wind won't blow in that
Yeah,
direction.
yeah. Oh no, I'll see you got a nuclear free zone there. I'll go around.
Fair enough. Yeah, yeah. Yes.
But that's all idyllic and that sort of thing. I have my issue with that sort of thing, but yeah. So it's an interesting choice to do. Then I love the way it sort of pans in with the music into like Jim reading the Times at the library.
Yeah, and this is the only time too where we see other characters.
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I noticed. The first time I didn't, because when you go in, you don't know what to expect, right? But then second time I'm like, oh, actually, this is the. I was thinking, too, do we ever see his son maybe in the distant? Like, no, you don't see him at all. But yeah, you see him in the library, but you don't really see any faces. The only time you kind of do when he's on the bus, right, going home.
Yeah, one thing that always stuck out to me is like he seems quite forlorn because he's obviously ready. I think there's a headline in the Times saying I think it's an East-West confrontation or something. But you see him with this sort of quite forlorn look, and you see sort of a young couple in the background just like looking out the window and all happy and as if not a care in the world.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, he's just obviously going about his daily life as well. Just he was in the library. He goes to the library every day. He was in the morning, and he comes
keeps
home.
himself active, and he's retired, and he's just he seems one of those that keeps himself. Yeah, he wants to be well read and know what's going on in the world, and sort of stay in touch.
Exactly. Yeah. So then we've kind of established too that they're retirees. He's he's on the pension. The same, and she's a homemaker, and she's still got that old school homemaker-esque. She's doing making his dinner and asking what he wants. He wants sausage or bacon with his dinner or something.
Sausages, yeah,
that kind of stuff, and all that kind of whimsical kind of thing about it. Oh, you're gonna get a stain on your jacket there, or the homemaker kind of nice touch to it, kind of thing, isn't it? Yeah,
or sort of the old sort of nagging wife cliche kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But then it's done with love and care and stuff.
Yes.
And you just feel like they're kind of meant for each other as well, the way it's presented. Where you feel like, oh, they said they've been together since they're 18 or 19, and they know each other's strengths and weaknesses, and they've learned to live with the differences, and they've come together and they know what works, and they kind of enjoy each other's company though at the same time.
Yeah. And there's an interesting point when he talks and he says, "Look, there's a war coming, and this is getting pretty serious, love." And I think she says, "Oh, I don't, the paper, it's just politics and sport. I don't read any of that. We'll get through it. Like we'll all do our bit, and we'll get through to VA Day, and we'll like we did in the Second World War, and pulling on that kind of that Blitz spirit, which I guess a lot of people do. I guess the Blitz spirit, it was kind of it's. I guess it's, what would you call it? It's cultural memory in Britain. It's kind of in Britain's DNA now. When there's bloody commercialization of this stuff. When you see a lot of those mugs and those things, keep calm and carry on, all that sort of stuff. It's this bloody industry built out of this.
Oh, you see like all the Churchill stuff everywhere, and Britain needs you, or him doing the V Day or the V sign victory,
and look, to be fair, there was a lot of that. People there are stories of stoic civilians sort of facing the Blitz with cheer and unity, but there's a famous image of people having a cup of tea in the rubble and just getting on with it.
Also, I remember that famous one from one of those documentaries where. Like literally, this pub got blown out or something, and they're still it's still kind of standing, but every destruction everywhere. And it's like, oh, we're closed for breakfast, but we're open for lunch or something. They're sweeping the glass out and still making food for people. Yeah.
And there was a lot of that, but a lot of that was used for propaganda, and that's how a lot of the British remember that. But the reality of it was, there was between September 1940 and May 1941, 43,000 civilians killed, 139,000 injured, 2 million evacuated, hundreds of thousands left homeless. There was panic in the early raids, and there was sort of shelter mentality later where people were sort of scared to...
Oh, and you see the scenes too where people living in the underground as well, sleeping in the stations there.
Well, there was this class divide because, the wealthy were sheltered in private bunkers or in the countryside where the poor were crammed into tube stations. So there's a lot of resentment afterwards. They saw that looting, burglary, assaults during blackouts, even corpses robbed. So it wasn't all national unity like they would say. I think mental health. So apparently 1 in 6 suffered what was called bomb neurosis. So they sort of that fear of like always being on edge.
Oh, they call it the old shell shock as well.
Yeah. So look, whilst many did adapt and rebuilt and kept industries going, but it wasn't as everyone like the propaganda would have you believe. You know what I mean? So I think when we see the link when the wind blows, like they kind of Jim and Hilda are kind of a wall behind, and they're embodying that sort of that 1940s Blitz attitude in this nuclear age. But this whole movie is that's a microcosm for the British response in general. I think that's what we're seeing, and that's what's so cleverly done through these two.
And also, too, they were kids when it was going on, so they didn't have to bear the adult responsibilities of going through the Blitz as well.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, oh, no, I remember, I was in a cage and I was reading my comics or my
They're talking about the bomb shelters,
and, oh, it was in the garden and all this lovely stuff. And it's like, yeah, but as a kid, you wouldn't know any different, but as an adult...
It would have been fun as a kid, right?
Yeah, you think, oh, I'm having
little adventure.
Building a bunkhouse or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, adventure, exactly.
But yeah, that's why this whole Blitz spirit, and you saw like Boris Johnson pulling out this term and shit in like during COVID and stuff like, we need the Blitz spirit, let's all pull together. Governments have always done it in the UK, and it's always been like it's always been propaganda. But yeah, essentially like that whole keep calm and carry on, that is an industry built out of this sort of half myth, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. So when they're looking back, it's not all truth, but it's almost like it's that cultural memory, and I find that, and all the way through this movie is I guess they're framing it like it's the Second World War. We just did, it'll be okay,
Yeah, once the bomb does go off, I'll be an able-bodied person. I can probably have to go help out in the city centre, wherever it was. You're saying, you just like,
everyone does their job,
and And then he's like, oh, but you're a retired old man. And he goes, yeah, but they might still need me here on the home front and all this stuff. You're just like, just kind of like...
And it's so heartbreaking just watching. When there's that bit when like they're talking about the war. We had Uncle Joe, and we had we spoke about the whole Uncle Joe thing,
FDR, and
But I think you were speaking about he became Uncle Joe later, didn't he?
He was because before before World War II, especially in the US, right, where he was viewed, the communist regime, they're evil and they're scary and they're terrifying, and Stalin's purges, all that stuff. But then when World War II happened, it broke out, and now everyone's against the Nazis, and US joins it. Now instead of just being Stalin the tyrant, he's now Uncle Joe and that kind of stuff. Yeah, he gets romanticized in a way.
Yeah, he does, and he's. I guess there's that bit when they're talking about it, and they're all romantic, and you knew where you stood then. Yeah, we were friends with them, and we were friends with them, and everyone we all just dug in and got on.
I think this is like obviously with selective nostalgia as well. Like it's a great discussion point for this episode in this movie, and like there's a point too when Jim's like recreating and dancing to like the memory of like. Oh, I remember, it'd be like Alamein with the Monty and the boys going through, and then you see a cartoon of Monty next to him with the moustache and everything, and he kind of goes, Monty and the boys, they marched on, and then, they're probably still in charge now, and she goes, that was 40 years ago, and he had a moustache back then. So, like, saying he's dead, most likely, he's dead now. Like
that was the scene, that gets me, and I can't tell you what. Every time I've seen this film, that scene gets me. Like it hits me in the feels for some reason. I don't know, because my great grandfather was one of the Desert Rats. He served under Monty.
Oh, interesting.
But he's Britain's greatest war hero. But there's something about that. I think he's the one. This embodies that whole selective nostalgia thing, and Jim's memory of the war. With that bit when she says that, no, he'll be dead now, and he's when he's that. It's almost a ghost of Monty. He's got his arm around him, and he sort of cashes the tea, and he disappears. And so it's like, oh, it's like the death of his worldview now.
Yeah,
the world he knew is gone, and it's so. Somehow I got goosebumps thinking about it now. I don't know. It's just so powerful the way it's done. And I hats off to the director for that. I don't know how he's done it.
But it sums up that attitude perfectly, doesn't it?
It's brilliant. Yeah, it's brilliant.
I guess too, in the grand scheme of things of World War II. Monty's Rats was kind of like the first time England beat the Germans on.
It was a turn. It was a bit of defiance.
Yeah. And they outsmarted their smartest general Rommel, right, as well. So it was kind of like the first time, like Britain's spirit's fighting. It's marching on, and we've pushed the Nazis out of Africa, kind of thing. Yeah. So you can see why it was glorified in that way.
Well, yeah, he would represent like the apex of competence. Like it was like. And like survival through authority. Like, no, he was the one that knocked Rommel off, and we're going to be all right now, sort of thing. As I say, he's Britain's greatest war hero or war general.
Yeah, you'd argue too that World War II was probably the last time where we saw generals and military people as glorified heroes, like throughout,
Yes,
and became important figures further down the track. Obviously Eisenhower becoming president, and General de Gaulle becoming the president of France as well. After that, you don't really see those kind of figures become into political figures anymore, or glorified in that certain way. Like, obviously in Vietnam with General Westmoreland, he was definitely not viewed that way or anything like that. No,
Curtis LeMay.
No, definitely not. Yeah, and and I don't know any names of any British generals after Monty.
No,
I can't think. Well, no one sparks to mind, but the ones before that you would, Bomber Harris or something like that. Yeah.
Maybe not Bomber Harris,
no, but you know them, straight up. You know their names, and same with General Zhukov in the Soviet Union. You know them, but after that, it doesn't seem to have that same kind of razzmatazz to it.
No,
romanticize
and that's why they say the point that I think they're making when they're looking back. It's all they're talking about. You knew where you stood. It's all faceless now.
Yeah,
it's all done in boardrooms, and it's figures, and it's someone pushing the button. It's sort of not personal anymore. It's cold.
Yeah, there's no troops on the ground. Yeah, no. It's all. As you said, it comes like Space Wars in a way, isn't it? Yeah.
It does.
And what I find funny too with this selective nostalgia and just in general, how he keeps on getting confused. It's like, we'll beat the Germans this time. He goes, no, it's the Russians we're fighting. Yeah. Oh, the Ruskies. Yeah, it just shows it's not even about the enemy. It's just about the state of mind of it.
But on that sort of gets us onto the next point I wanted to make, because he talks about no, we were friends then, and now we're not, and wonder why, and they're talking about, and it's interesting, you talk about the Soviet role in the Second World War. We're talking about the selective nostalgia of the British, on the home front, and yes, Britain. Obviously, the way it's taught afterwards, Britain did stand alone. Britain did stand alone for a little bit. If you think about the evacuation or the miracle of Dunkirk, if those 250,000 troops did not get back, then it's very different.
Different outcome,
yeah. So they have to. It was obviously a defeat, but they survived.
What did it was the King? Was it King George at the time? I think it was.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm glad that we don't have any allies anymore because they don't have to be nice to anyone anymore. Like we're on our own completely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they're on their own with obviously the Empire as well, and the strongest navy in the world. But the narrative now is Britain stood alone. And look, they did. Don't get me wrong.
Really was.
Don't get me wrong. And if they didn't stay in that war, then God knows what would have happened. Well, obviously we know what would have happened. It would have been like Fatherland or something.
Yeah.
but it almost, you forget now, and I guess because of Hollywood and because the changing of the guard after the Second World War and going on to the Cold War, where the Soviets became the enemy, you forget about the Soviet role in the Second World War. You know what I mean? And that's where he's thinking back this selective nostalgia of how Britain got through the Second World War. And don't get me wrong, they did their bit, but relatively speaking, I think it was about 60,000 people died on the home front there with bombings and everything. If you look at look, I'm not going to sort of between the military and civilian deaths. I don't know how to differentiate through this number, but it was 27 million died. The Soviets were the ones that won that war. Yet you'd never know it because of Hollywood, and they'll never.
Or the Western history books all got written in the vein of the victors of our sphere, because then the Russians became the enemy. So we're not going to glorify our new enemy, are we?
Yeah. So we always talk about. I guess it's always Normandy or something. It's always those great triumphs. But I guess. Fucking siege of Leningrad, which we've talked about. It's Stalingrad, which is a real turning point. The Battle of Kursk, which was the largest tank battle. Soviets were the ones that captured Berlin.
Yeah.
In fact, you look on the Eastern Front, 80% of German casualties were inflicted on the Eastern Front. So this was. I think even Churchill had said privately, Soviets tore the guts out of the German army, and he's right.
Yeah,
and he's right. But the cost of that was they did all the bleeding, basically. I genuinely, the Soviets do not get the credit they deserve. But I think, we forget about the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact in the Non-Aggression Pact in 1939. So, the world could have been very different. It was essentially an alliance, really, wasn't it? They carved up Poland together, didn't they?
Yeah.
Cultural memory, I guess Western schools, films, and media, it all centers on Anglo-American heroism in the Second World War, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess the war that he's remembering is not really the Second World War, I would argue. I'm all for British stoicism and heroism, but the Eastern Front is the one that won that war.
Yeah, exactly.
And people forget that.
No, definitely. No, it's it's kind of, I think now with a lot more access to information and records and things like that, especially too when they declassified a lot of stuff after before the Soviet Union, you got to see a lot more of the horrific details of what happened and with the generals and then also too with Cold War stuff that happened as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is one of those eye-opening moments when you actually realize how many people they lost during that conflict. It's insane. Like you can't even. It's almost the population of Australia basically. They lost in with deaths. It's just it's incomprehensible in some ways. Yeah, you forget. Because like what was that old Stalin saying? Was it one death is a tragedy, but a million deaths is a statistic? It comes like that. You come numb to it. Like in some ways,
and that was
insane.
the approach. In many ways, the Russian approach hasn't changed.
No,
it's the same now.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Actually, in saying that, what I do know is I think in Russia they call it the Great Patriotic War, but they downplay the Lend-Lease Act. So they forget about the money that to the value of 11 billion or 180 billion plus today they were given by the US.
Oh yeah.
To fight. So it was I think 4 to 7% of Soviet wartime production. So 400,000 trucks, 12,000 tanks, 11,000 aircraft, bloody fucking 10,000 trains and food to feed 12 million soldiers a year. So they couldn't have done that without American help, essentially.
US resources.
Yeah, so
exactly.
There is that as well. There is that caveat too.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of like every war needs those kind of things, like raw materials and supplies and logistics, moving things around. Like if you haven't got that helping hand, you're not going to survive, are you? So,
well, that's it. Yeah. Well, we see how vital that is now to Ukraine staying in the war that they're in.
Well, I guess also too what the film does at the start as well. Well, after we see that it's like there's nostalgia with everything, but also it shows their blind faith in the government manuals, was it the pamphlet, the Protect and Survive, and following it to an absolute T. So like Jim is, some of the instructions are, you take all the doors off the handles and you station it on a 60-degree angle to shelter your family. And you paint the windows white for the heat resistance. You grab, 2 weeks worth of supply that you said earlier, and pop it in under there.
There's even a bit, 14 loaves or peanut butter. He's like, I don't even like peanut butter. Oh, I better get it anyway.
Yeah, the manual says that, so I've got to follow it to a T. Yeah, and there's a couple of other things in there too, like getting you wear white because you're less likely to get burns. Was it the marks or something? Wasn't it? Yeah.
Which that happened in
Hiroshima. Yeah, just little things like that, and he's just following this manual like a Bible and a guide. Like just it can't be wrong. What was going?
It gives him some sort of control.
It gives him something to believe in, or something that he said control, and something to look like to. There's a plan to everything. Yeah, it's not just like there's no hope kind of thing.
But it's almost like he's got a purpose.
Yeah, it's kind of like it is funny because you find sometimes a lot of those old retirees, they kind of, when they, especially guys, they lose, once they lose their job, it gives them no purpose anymore, and then they get depressed or they need to find projects to do. So this kind of becomes his new project in a way. Yeah, then he goes down to the local shop and gets the supplies, and then they've run out of certain things.
Well, they're panic buying
ensues. Because he can't figure out what 60-degree angle looks like, so he tries to find, was it like a protractor, wasn't it?
I think the shop owner cuts him something out.
Something to make it show it's like that. And it's all those little things, and then getting the jars of water, making sure there's 2 weeks worth of supply of waters there, so then, they can malnourish that and get it with the sandbox as well.
Yep.
And it's just little things like that, and he's following an absolute T, and obviously then his wife's questioning, she's contradicting what the thing says. It goes, well, if you've taken all the doors off the handles, then the manual says, oh, but then you need to keep the doors closed so the fire won't spread. It's just, and then he's pointing oh no, but the manual says this though. So I found that part really funny, and that it's got a bit of that British humour to it, Yeah.
Well, what's funny, he's getting his information secondhand. He's ready, and then he's passing on to her third hand, and she's sort of misinterpreting. He's like, oh no, she's writing it off. No, this should do that. But then she's also like, well, if a job's worth doing, it's worth doing it right, sort of thing, and all this stuff as well. Like,
yeah, or when he starts painting the windows, don't you get any paint on the blinds? I've worked hard, just things like that.
Like it's gonna matter.
It's gonna get obliterated anyway.
Yeah. But I do like talking about protect and survive, that we really see this like generational divide. With the phone call with his son. Oh, I better give what's his? I think it's Ron. I better give Ron a call. And he's no, you've followed the book, have you, son? Oh, and his son's sort of like, no, it's just something along the lines. Oh no, what's the point? Or I'm not doing all that. It's not going to matter.
It's kind of like into interpretation of how Ron is acting, right? It's kind of like, is he kind of panicked and worried about it, or is he like at the point of like, I'm in London, the epicenter where the bombs would be dropped?
Well, this is what you're saying. Oh, don't laugh. Stop laughing, son. You're a father now, and he's sort of like, yeah, but he's like, he's almost. I see it as about he's coming on like he's nihilistic. What's his fucking point?
Yeah.
Like and this is where you see that. We've obviously spoken a lot about Jim and Hilda with their their absolute faith in they were formed by Second World War views, survival and victory through sacrifice, obedience, unity. They follow the leaders and they get through to VA Day, like Hilda says, in this sort of idealistic worldview. I guess life was simpler then, right? Like work hard, follow rules, you get rewarded. All the the World War II myths, Blitz spirit and Britain's finest now, all that sort of stuff. They love all that. Where he's sort of this younger generation. We spoke about, I think in our Night of the Living Dead episode, about it was starting to turn. Revolution was in the air in the 60s, and people were starting to see.
Yeah, you'd assume Ron would be what, late boomer, early Gen Xer maybe, based on when this was made. Yeah,
and you're starting to see like, you start to get after this, and Britain was starting to lose its place in the world. And I think we spoke a little while back of the Suez Crisis. Nasser, he actually nationalized the Suez Canal, so this was a vital oil route for Europe and Britain in particular. But I think Britain, France, and Israel conspired. Israel, I think, had invaded from the north, and I suppose Britain and France were going to go on as like peacemakers or something, but it just fell through. They could see right through it. And this was like their, forced withdrawal from.
Sounds like the Bay of Pigs.
Yeah, it was. It was Britain's Bay of Pigs, really, and it was like a forced withdrawal by the US. The US, like, they knew exactly what they were doing. I think there was pressure from the USSR as well. It was like Britain with the tail between their legs. It was like it confirmed that now you've lost your place at the top table, sort of thing. So that this kind of shattered the illusion of Britain as a world power. So people are seeing this, and I guess in that generation as well. Not that it. Affected Britain, but you've got like the Vietnam War, the My Lai massacre, you've got the 1970s oil crisis and economic decline, you've got Thatcher in the UK, you've got Reagan, you've got nuclear fears. So you can see why this sort of cynicism and nihilism would have been growing in the youth. And I think it's you never see Ron, but it embodies it. It's that generational divide. His dad's like, no, son, you have to follow it. You're a father now, and he's like, what's the fucking point? Like, I love that. It's quite a powerful bit, that phone call.
Yeah, no, it is definitely. And we don't hear Ron's voice at all, as you just said. Like, and yeah, as I said, it was kind of like down to interpretation, and because he kind of like comforts Hilda in a way, right? Where it's like I know Ron, he's a good driver, or he's this and that kind of thing. Like, I don't think he portrays the nihilism to her. Like, he kind of like saves her from that, kind of thing. Yeah, he's been protective of her.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah,
that's a good point. I think he probably is. He's I think we. Ron's probably not giving a shit, but he doesn't want her to think that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
He's filtered it.
Exactly, yeah. And then that's basically taking a load off her mind, basically, not to worry about him. Like, oh, don't worry, he's a smart boy, Ron, he'll figure it out, kind of thing. So, no, it's, as I said, like, because, that him being, because we, in the heart of London, we assume, like, it's just, if the bomb drops, like,
from what we see in the film, he's the lucky one.
He's lucky, exactly. Yeah. So there's no point worrying about it. There's apparently a theory going out that, because when the bomb does drop in this film and it cuts to the way where cars are getting flipped over, they reckon that one of them could be Ron.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's one of the theories. I don't know if that's true or not from the director that did it that way, or the author, but yeah, I don't know. It is an interesting theory to think about that.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It's interesting when the bomb does drop, doesn't it? It's very clever where it sort of goes to the sheep, it goes to the car. But the score, the music when it comes in,
and then the texture and the color of the animation changes as well. That's why I like it. Goes from being this bright color then to like this bleak, kind of like yellowish green color, and the way that it moves in slow motion and fast at the same time, and it speeds up, and then you said the score gets like it's very well done. Sounds like an error, like one of those old World War II planes going through like a B2.
Very, very, very ominous, isn't
Ominous,
it?
yeah, or a freight train or something. Yeah, it's creepy. Well, speaking of the bomb dropping, we'll probably get to that point now where, it all changes on the dime and it flips and changes our tempo because we're following Jim going through the manual, setting up the house, painting the windows, all those kind of things. And we're hearing things on the radio, hear bits and pieces here and there about, tensions are boiling up and things like that. But then, yeah, as they're in the kitchen. Hilda's making, just cooking something in the oven, and he's just going about it. And next thing you know, the radio pops on, breaking news, emergency broadcast, the bomb has lifted, you got 3 minutes to go before impact. And that's when the panic kicks in, and he goes, all right, get to the shelter. And then she goes, oh, no.
I'll just go get the washing.
I'll get the washing out, or I've got something left in the oven. And then he just out of nowhere goes, come on, you stupid bitch, get in there. I remember that part, I'm like, oh, God, that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It is estimated that the missiles will arrive in approximately 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
God almighty, Dux. There's
Do
only
not
3
leave
minutes to
your
go.
homes.
Oh dear, I'll just
Stay
get the washing
indoors
in.
and take
Come
cover.
back, you stupid bitch, and
Lie
get in the
down.
shelter.
Because it's set in this tone where, especially that older generation, you don't swear, you're always polite,
You certainly wouldn't speak to a woman like that.
Yeah, they're very much prudes as well. You never say demeaning words like that. It's vulgar language, but yeah, it just shows that the switch and the panic sets in where he's just like, shut the fuck up, basically.
Yeah.
Get in there.
I think we're all thinking that.
Oh,
yeah.
we are. Like, oh. At times she was a bit very, very frustrating to listen to.
But I think that's by design.
I know it is by design.
It makes you, I guess, very much what Raymond Briggs said. I feel it makes me think of my grandparents.
Yeah.
It makes me think of shit. Even my parents in a war, in a like they just be they wouldn't be. They wouldn't think it would happen or something like no that wouldn't happen, but specifically my grandparents, like
I thought of my grandparents' generation too.
Yeah,
definitely.
It doesn't. You're like, oh, it's horrifying. And just them being so unlucky that like they would survive it and have to endure it and wouldn't know how to take it.
Yeah, and something so simplistic about those old days, like the way they were raised and the way they think about things and think of the world as well. Like, and then just being completely oblivious to something so horrific coming their way within the space of 3 minutes. Yeah, something like really sad, depressing, horrific about it, isn't there? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean this is where the movie turns horrible now. It's heart wrenching. It's that slow death. You're just watching them take, but trying to rationalize that. Oh no, it couldn't be that. It's surely got to be this.
Yeah, and the way that's kind of portrayed too, because he knows the bomb's coming at that stage. Obviously, he just thinks, oh, the bomb gets dropped, disaster happens, or it blown up. All right, we move on, and it's not like that.
The rebuild starts.
Yeah.
This is where the real challenge starts now.
Exactly. Yeah, this is when it kicks up a notch, and we see the consequences of when a nuclear bomb goes off.
Yeah, and when they dive in and they get to the point now where I think they're supposed to stay in there for 2 weeks, but then there's conflicting info. When then he reads, oh no, it's actually only meant to be 2 days, and then this is one of the differences from the book. Only the slight difference. So in the graphic novel, when they go outside, she's like, I've got a headache. Oh no, love, a bit of fresh air will do you well. It was all light and sunshine and very really bright sunshine. So this was before the concept of nuclear winter. So by 1982, it wasn't a thing. I think nuclear winter was discovered as a theory in like 1985, just before Threads came out. So hence Threads being the first movie to actually explore this concept.
Yeah.
So obviously, anyway, nuclear winter is when all the radiation, the dust and soot and debris all goes up into the atmosphere, or the stratosphere, blocks out the sun. For years, and this is the concept where it's in the name, nuclear winter. This is where you get crop failure. This is where you get famine and shortages because of that. So in the book, they go outside and it's grey and dead, and it's showing nuclear winter.
No, and we see too when the bomb does go off, all the glasses and actually their house ended up not being too badly damaged in the grand scheme of things compared to things. See, the window gets smashed open. Well, that's significantly that point when it emphasizes that, because then you just know the particles are going to get through now.
Yeah.
Where they're stationed, they set up their little fallout shelter in the middle of the hallway, wherever it is in the where they are, it's going to get through no matter what,
Yeah.
right? So it's just like it's a bit of a waste of endeavor. But that's you said they followed the manual to a T, and there's conflicting views about what 14 days or 2 days or whatever it is. And he's still adamant about it. And she goes, "Oh, I'm not going to go to the toilet in here, am I?" Like kind of thing. Then I remember watching it the first time, and I noticed that when they actually leave the shelter,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking, but has there been a time lapse or something, or have I missed something? But then it later reveals that he goes, I forgot. Sorry, I won't be here. But she's, it's too late anyway. Now we'll go about our business. But it's and you're seeing them. They're still kind of like, look at the damage. Oh, I'll have to get the curtains done in the morning. Or this kind of stuff. It's just like, then also too because they're completely. They just assume it's just the bomb goes off and that's it. And then we move on to the next thing. But then what it does, there's no electricity. There's no hot water now. There's no running water. Everything's just been completely switched off, and they forgot to put their water into the shelter, so they can't get any more cups of tea or anything like that. Or it's really depressing.
But it does do that thing though, where they do manage to get a cup of tea and they boil the water and stuff, and the sort of cup of tea will make everything okay. Yeah. That's cure for everything in England, you know.
It is. Well, I found that one part funny when he asked for a cup of tea, and then she goes, "This is I think a couple of days in." And he's, no, so we've got no water left. He goes, is there any milk left for the, cup of tea or something? And he goes, no, the milk is gone, curd. And then he goes, okay, what about a nice hot coffee then? He goes, we've got no water though. He's just like that back and forth, like he's just going, keep forgetting stuff. Yeah, it does that satire to it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's charming in that sense. Yeah.
But even despite what's just happened to their house and everything, they're still optimistic about moving on to it.
Yeah, and this is the bit where they, and they're talking about the society, well, the authorities will come for us, and they haven't delivered the paper today, or the milk hasn't come today. Oh, well, surely, obviously it's been a bomb. It'll take a little while to get back.
Well, they tried the radio and then the TV. I had a laugh when they tried the TV as well. I'm like, well, if the radio's not working, what do you think the TV's going to do?
Well, and when they said the TV, it'll be on the news. We'll probably see the bomb.
Great pictures. Yeah. No, it's just that, completely.
And it's this point now where they just don't.
It's not computing.
Yeah, it's not computing, but they don't understand. They're seeing it through Second World War
lenses.
They're framing it through Second World War lenses, and I think this, to me, this is how I interpret the whole film. It's these two are Britain's response in microcosm. Like, you are a war behind again, and you're approaching it like the Second World War, but there's no second chance here. You're not going to come back from this. But there's all that optimism, that spirit that no, we can. And at every twist and turn, there's something that gets them. When she's talking about, she's showing all the signs of radiation sickness. The headache. The diarrhea,
no appetite,
yeah, all these little things, and you as the viewer, you're watching, like, oh no,
yeah, you know what it is exactly.
You know what it is, but they don't. Yeah,
and they're saying like, oh, the aspirin isn't working, and it's like, it's
yeah.
I guess you think recent media that's kind of showcased what radiation sickness is probably Chernobyl, right?
Yeah,
where that really showcased how horrific dying that way is. Yeah, and seeing some of the scenes that you're like, oh, just like it's, and people, the sickness and coughing up blood, and it's just. What a terrible way to go out that way. You can't think of anything worse. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is what this movie does. Like, you just at every twist and turn, Jim's got an answer for it. Like, no, it'll be this, love, it'll be that, or
the thing is earlier, like, you're in shock or something. It's very common for that to happen. You know?
Yeah. You're in shock. Yeah, I had a bit of diarrhea myself, love. Don't worry about it. And I think there's a bit where she's got sort of scars and stuff all over her legs and scratches. The varicose veins, love. That's very common for people of our age. Don't worry about it. We'll go to the as soon as the doctor's open. We'll go, and you're like, nah, she's
but you're gone. Yeah. And it's the way it's animated too. You slowly see those little marks pop up as the story goes on as well. Like, you see, like, their cheeks get redder, or they're getting that droopy eyes, and the sweats, and the hair's messy, and you can just see even though it's a cartoon, and probably to kind of illustrate it as well as like a real life thing, like Threads does, or Chernobyl does, but you can still see like their body is decaying, right? It is portrayed that way. Yeah. I think one of the saddest moments of the film. And the one that struck me, because it's showing how the blind ignorance and following the protocols, is when she goes on about we could have stayed in the cellar, and then he goes, oh no, it's too damp in the cellar. But then you think, fuck, if they stayed in the cellar the whole time, maybe they could have. And they say they followed it, stayed there for 2 weeks. They could have maybe somehow been in a better predicament than they were, you know? And it's just like, but because they followed this freaking guide to
Protect and
survive
yeah.
to letter to every nook and cranny of it, that they missed that opportunity to do that. Because logically, you would think to go to a cellar, right?
Yeah.
The bomb was about to go off, but then, oh no, the manual says you got to do this, you know?
Yeah, and again, it just comes back to that whole thing of like, well, what, the government, the authority said, the government said this.
They wouldn't lie to us.
Why,
why would they say this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
And again, when you think of like your grandparents, they come from a time of I think you were saying before, or policemen wouldn't be corrupt.
Yeah. Politicians don't lie.
Yeah, politicians don't lie. Policemen wouldn't take a bribe. It's that generation that like they wouldn't even think to question. And that's the sadness. It's unfortunate. These are the unfortunate people that suffer, in this, and it just shows that that generation divide very, very well.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. Besides that scene, I think another sad moment too is when he gets the deck chairs out and they're sitting in the sun or in the outdoors. Like it's kind of like their last time. They kind of know, like it's hinting that this is their last kind of hurrah in a way, isn't it? Yeah. It's clever too. There's a point in the scene too when it cuts to them after the bomb goes and they're looking out in the yard and they're imagining like the English summer again or something when it's all bright and dandy, and it cuts to a butterfly flowing. It's kind of like symbolizing like a butterfly effect of what's happened with the bomb going off. Yeah. It's a nice symbology in this film.
Yeah, there is, and it's a real just again just touching, dark, innocent, but sad all at the same time. It's doing so much. So yeah, just a very unique take on the nuclear holocaust. Really, you just pretty much with these two characters all the way through, and you get attached to them, and at every point you're like, oh, you just feel so sad for them.
Yeah, and then obviously the ending point too, when they both kind of suggest to each other, we should get in those bags, kind of thing. Representing like a body bag, basically.
Pretty much.
And and I think you touched on it earlier too. They start saying a prayer, wasn't it? And, and just going through that, and
it says it pans out to the
slowly pans it, but then the way he says it too, like you can just see that he's losing energy and cohesion in a way too, and it's just comes harder for him to say the prayer, and then it fades away.
Yeah,
and you just know that they're almost gone now.
Yeah, and I say it's it leaves an ambiguous. Well, does it really? Because no, you're not surviving nuclear. You're not surviving radiation sickness.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I guess that's the whole point. Like this war isn't like the war you knew. There's no winning this war, or there's no rules in this war.
Everyone loses.
Yeah, everyone loses, and but that's I think that's when the wind blows. I think so. That's the third one of the of Britain's response to nuclear war. So we've done Threads, we've done the war game, and we've done When the Wind Blows. So I don't know what you would call that as a trilogy. I guess the British nuclear war trilogy.
Well, what's interesting about the trilogy, they're all done in different ways.
Yeah.
So we did it. Well, this is a bit more lighthearted, but we did the Paul Verhoeven trilogy, where they're kind of, there's a similar kind of essence to them all, I guess, where or a flair to them, where these are all completely different directors, different artists that have gotten about it. So obviously one's done in a dramatic fashion with Threads, another one's done in documentary style with the war game, and this one's done in a cartoon picturesque kind of thing in When the Wind Blows. Where would you rank all three of these? How would you rank all the three of these, your personal favorites, and then how three would you rank them in their impact?
So, look, it's undeniable. Threads, I already said it. Like you just cannot beat Threads for impact and for the way it is. I've never seen a movie like it, and I don't think I ever will see a movie like that. You know what I mean? Just for the absolute feeling of dread that movie gives you. But second would be When the Wind Blows, I think, because it's like, I guess Threads shows societal collapse. Well, it doesn't show societal collapse. It kind of goes forward and shows like generational collapse, and it just keeps going and going and going to this point where like, and it really hits home at the fact. It does not stop hitting home at the fact how unsurvivable this is. It's brutal in it. Where this kind of shows like domestic collapse and misplaced nostalgia, and it's kind of hitting. It's taking it from a different point. and it's warm, and I always said it before, and I love the way it does that kind of. It goes down that road of misplaced nostalgia. So I think it's very clever like that to people of a certain generation, because I've always often wondered why people of a certain age from England and stuff that don't talk about it and don't think about it, and they, you think, well, where were you during the Cuban Missile Crisis? Oh, we didn't. Nobody really cared, and this kind of goes some way to explaining that. So I appreciate for that. But the war game would be third, not because it's. I mean, this is the one that paved the way for both.
Yeah.
Without Peter Watkins doing what he did and making that film and sort of walking so these two could run. So perhaps that should be the most important one, I guess, for impact. But I think as a film, I think it's third on this list. What about you?
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Like Threads is hard to top, right? It is like the one that it's definitely the film that you never forget, and you never like. I guess you won't forget these, but this one always sticks out. Like it's the one that when you watch it and you finish it, it was just like, oh, like it changes you like in a way.
Well, and I think on that, and I think what we have to remember with the war game as well is there were certain things they didn't. It was more of the atomic age, where I think what separates When the Wind Blows and Threads is this thermonuclear age. So it's beyond like they knew things that perhaps Peter Watkins wouldn't have known, or what wasn't widely known in the scientific community at the time. So we always got to kind of have that caveat too. But
yeah, and I think because it's done in a documentary style, it kind of takes out that human emotion out of it a little bit as well. Makes it more factual. I know Threads does that a little bit as well, but you're still seeing a lot more devastation with it. Yeah. Where with the war game, it's more like coming across like as a government kind of, this person dies now kind of thing. Yeah. So it doesn't really have that same gripping feeling that the others two have. I'd say when we talk about impact, I'd say people like you and me and probably a lot of our listeners, Threads is obviously the one that has the most impact because it gives you that raw punch to the gut. But I know for people that are a bit, don't like looking at things like that or thinking that kind of way, this When the Wind Blows probably be more impactful because of its warm, whimsical nature to it. You could see people from our parents or grandparents' generation watching that, then giving them the wake up call that they kind of would need to see what the impact of nuclear war.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Whereas, because I remember I think you were saying that you recommended Threads to someone once, and they kind of didn't understand it, or they thought, "Oh, that's just horrible," and this turned a blind eye. Like, didn't want to think about it after that.
Yeah, it's funny. I told my parents to watch it. They go, "Oh, it's horrible. Like, why would you want to watch that?" And like, we got up to this point, and we had to switch it off. I think where the nan died, and like, oh, it's a horrible movie. Like, why would you? I'm like, it's kind of point. Like, it's
and then that's where you could argue, because it does that, then people don't take it in, they just turn it off. Oh, that's too brutal.
Well, it makes no apologies.
Makes no apologies, yeah. But for people like you and me, we find that, this is the reality check that, this is...
Well, I think we appreciate the no one's lying to you, or no one's kind of...
The brutal honesty of it.
Yeah, the brutal honesty. They're just fucking straight to the point.
But then it's like, also too, we go, this film should be shown to world leaders kind of thing, yeah. Where this one's actually, where The Wind Blows is like one where you're like, no, this is a really good one to show to... as I said, like your grandparents or your parents' generation, or someone that's not inclined to watch things like Threads, and say, this is kind of a nice, a gateway to show you what.
It's a gateway to the nuclear holocaust.
It is,
and
like
radiation sickness.
You're showing the realities of what happens. Where this is why you shouldn't joke or muck around with things like this. This is why people have these deterrents and why they want to disarm nuclear weapons. So that's why I find it does that role, right? But when we talk about general impact, you'd have to say, the problem was the war game never got shown until the 80s, right? Because it didn't have that initial impact, because we all know Pete Watson was a very headstrong guy and wanted the way presented the way he wanted it done, and then they silenced him, which was a shame. Where at least with Mick Jackson's and Hines' version, it got out. So
yes,
so and it had that lasting impact.
But it doesn't. But Threads doesn't get out without the war game, and that's. And the irony is like Threads wasn't toned down. Threads was fucking twice as bad as the war game. But I guess Peter Watkins did that so that could get out because of, I guess it was easy sort of then in the 60s to, I mean, the government's reason for it. Oh no, the suicide rates will pop up when in actual fact they leaned on the BBC, and it's like if you show this, it kind of shows that nuclear war is not survivable, and therefore you know,
You
this
will
whole
not contradict
this whole concept of mutually assured destruction is useless. Like, what are we doing? And people will sort of lose faith and start questioning. So
anarchy breaks out.
Yeah, so that was more down that lines. But you know, as we touched on in the episode, where like, you know, this age of cynicism, people losing faith in the government. You try to do that again in the 80s, you fucking riots on your hands.
Yeah,
you know, it was different. So like, I guess it was like they kind of had that case study, and so for impact, I would have to say inadvertently, it's the war game is the most important one out of the three. And I know it's an easy thing to say, but if that doesn't do what that does, Threads does not get out.
Yeah, well, kind of.
They wouldn't dare ban Threads.
Yeah, exactly. I can see that point of view, but I'd say in the showing it to the masses, I'd still say that Threads had the impact.
Oh, in pure effect.
Yes,
yes.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, pure effect. Yeah.
Yeah,
but then
that's easy. Yeah,
yeah. Well, as you said earlier, like basically the war game crawled so the others could run. So yeah, exactly. That's the way to sum it up. And yeah, I guess the reason why we go these 3 films and these episodes about this is because nuclear war it's still a deterrent today. It's still an issue today. It hasn't gone anywhere. Because
as you said, it's worse now.
Yeah,
like it's worse because more countries have weapons, and therefore the likeliness of something happening by mistake has gone up 9 times since when this movie came out, when it was really only the Soviets and the US that the main nuclear powers. Yeah, you had Britain, France, and a little bit of that, but yeah, it hasn't got any better.
No, it's got a lot worse, and then the rapid technology that is in today's world, and especially things with like AI and online and things like that, you can, could something like that switch it off, turn it on and launch an attack on something without us knowing, things like that. It's freaky, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, could someone just do it for a laugh?
Yeah.
Like it's. If you watch that, have you seen American Horror Story Apocalypse?
No.
Yeah, they basically just start it for a laugh. We need a reset.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
we don't control it.
Well, it's interesting too, because we've seen recently with a lot of the rhetoric in America and the political violence ramping up, and how quickly someone can get radicalized from something online. You think too, could that happen in higher up offices where someone just gets radicalized and then has access to something like nuclear weapons because they just turn it off like that? It's a scary thing to think about.
Yeah, and I think the scariest thing is the fact that it just happens by accident. Paranoia, and this is why relationships are so important. Even with your enemies, like if paranoia is such and you're not hearing something or something looks funny to you, as you said, we talked about the Abel Archer incident in 1983. Like, I guess in the geopolitical stage, this is why relationships are the most important thing, because if you get to that point and paranoia is such that you think that you're thinking irrationally and thinking, some first strike mentality, and this is the scariest thing with, I guess, missiles being on hair trigger alert, that they can be fired on warning and they can't come back. Like, this is technology from the 70s that, like, you know what I mean? It's I guess the reason because they're kind of more mechanical, because they can't be hacked. There's all that thinking behind it. So no, it hasn't got any better, and it's worse, and that's not a very nice thing to say in 2025.
No, definitely. And as we saw through the COVID times, that the government doesn't know what it's doing all the time as well. So and they can be very unprepared for things. So
yeah, well, and that's right. And we touched on before. We talked about deterrence and how I was talking about how it's been a success, but you can't credit that whole thing to just the concept of MAD, because it's been sheer just luck that we've survived as well. We've talked about it, a couple of the near misses. Abel Archer, Vasily Arkhipov, Stanislav Petrov. There's a few, the Palmeiras incident. There's a few others. There's been 10, 12 near misses that, like, it's just been luck that it hasn't happened by accident.
Well,
so we owe a lot to that as well.
Yeah, or even the Cuban Missile Crisis. Like, the Americans didn't know those nuclear submarines were armed.
Yes.
And if they went there, then they would have retaliated. Just those little moments here and there that could have just sparked something. No, yeah. It's terrifying to think about.
Yeah.
I guess too, before we wrap this up about why it's still relevant today, and we talked about through this whole episode about the selective nostalgia. You could argue that our generation and our parents' generation, well, the bombs never did go off during the Cold War. So why are we worrying about it now? It's like, well, no, it can still happen, and it still is a threat to the world. So, and as we've seen too recently, the Doomsday Clock, was it like a couple?
I think it was 89 seconds to midnight.
So yeah. It's still very relevant and something that we can't forget about.
No, definitely not.
Especially when there's 12,500 warheads out there.
Yeah, 14,000.
Oh, wow. It's gone up, is it? Jeez.
Yeah, but that's the thing, with our echo chambers, and you can sort of lock yourself away and pretend it's not happening.
Yeah.
Probably the most dangerous thing of all.
Exactly. And we've touched on previous episodes too, where with this 24-hour cycle and social media and with doom scrolling, and you can kind of think about it for 1 minute, then you forget about it 10 minutes later because something, a funny meme comes up, we're so distracted, aren't we?
Yeah.
Well, Andrew, what can viewers expect on next week's episode?
On next week's episode, I think we're dipping our toes into George Orwell territory, aren't we, with Animal Farm?
Yes, that's correct. We're going to the granddaddy of dystopia.
We are.
Old George Orwell, and yeah, I think Animal Farm's. It's one that's definitely a good stepping stone and a good way to get into Orwell, isn't it?
It is. We weren't going to start with 1984, so as I say, just dipping our toes in the water here with this one.
Yeah,
and see how we go.
No, this was one I remember reading it after 1984, and I thought it was a very clever way to portray, the communist system and Stalin and himself. So
you think it's about Stalin, do you?
Rumor has it. I wasn't 100% sure, but yeah. It could have been about maybe Hitler's rise. I don't know.
Possibly. Yeah.
But yeah. As always, guys, you can follow us on our social medias at Tumblr and Instagram at DystopediaPod. You can shoot us an email at info@dystopediapodcast.com. We're also on YouTube at Dystopedia Podcast. Like, subscribe, comment, all those great things. And on behalf of myself and Andrew, we'll catch you next week.
See you next week.